Remember when we had a bunch of video game-related print magazines? Electronic Gaming Monthly, Nintendo Power, the official PlayStation and Xbox magazines, GamePro, Expert Gamer, dozens of them. But in time, they all folded. All except one, Game Informer. From its beginnings in 1991 as an in-house bi-monthly newsletter for Funkoland, remember them, to being such a ubiquitous part of GameStop for 24 years before being unceremoniously killed without warning last year, only to be resurrected anew by Gunzilla Games, this monthly publication has been, and still is, a vital resource for games journalism. So today, on the last episode for 2025, we talk about the rise, fall, and resurrection of our beloved Game Informer, the only general video game print magazine still left in the United States. Next on Downloadable Content. To DLC. Happy holidays to you. I am Brian, and with me we have once again our intrepid Veronica.
Hello. You can't get rid of me.
I can't. You've been on every single episode this season, and you won't go away. You're still here, so I guess you like doing this.
I really enjoy the podcast and harassing you, so you know.
Good. For the 69th time, actually. So, nice.
Nice!
So, yes, we're talking about Game Informer. The only print magazine still left in the U.S. Oh, that's depressing.
Yeah, I was going to say, in the U.S., I mean, we still have Edge outside.
Yes. Edge is a UK publication, but today it's all Game Informer all the time. Well, or for the next couple of hours at any rate. So, before we dive in, as usual, every single episode of Downloadable Content can be found on the website, dlcpodcast.com, as well as Apple/iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube. So all the ways to get downloadable content into your ears. So, Game Informer. How we were all heartbroken, well, all of us who actually still read print media, all of us heartbroken last year when GameStop, literally without any sort of notice or warning, pulled the plug on Game Informer.
Yeah, a bunch of the staff discovered at the same time we did, because they didn't tell most of them that they were closing. Like a couple people, I believe that the editor-in-chief got a call about an hour before the announcement, but most of them discovered it when the announcement was made public that they didn't have jobs.
Yeah, when GameStop tweeted about it, when their jerk of a venture capitalist / crypto bro CEO decided, nah, not only are we going to get rid of the magazine, we're also going to wipe all traces of it from the internet. We're going to...
You mean that boilerplate announcement that reads like it was written by AI?
Yes. Because it probably was.
But it likely was. There were fans who went to ChatGPT, asked them to write a goodbye message for Game Informer, and got something almost word for word back.
Aww. But that was recent history. To begin Game Informer's story, we have to go back to 1991. We have to go back to specifically August of 1991, just a few months before I turned 6. That's how far back we go.
And Funko Pop decided to find, quote, a better way to spend their advertising dollars.
Funko Land, two very different companies.
Funko Land, not Funko Pop, Funko Land. No, that's actually where my brain was at, because I was about to say, when you were doing the opening and you mentioned it, I wanted to say, when I told my wife about this, she was like, I didn't realize Funko Pops had been around that long. And I went, no, different company.
And you made the
Funko
same
Land,
mistake.
Funko Pop, no. And then I fuck it up.
Wah, wah. But, like, I remember Funko Land stores. There was one near where I used to live. I had never stepped foot in one, but I knew exactly where it was. I could still drive to where it used to be today.
Is that the one near me, or was it a different place?
Oh, no, this was downstate.
Okay, downstate.
Yeah, this is downstate. Like, I could drive to where it used to be. It was in a shopping plaza with a very long dead Caldor. And I remember the ads for it very much. But yeah, I mean, we had Funko Land and Babbage's and Electronics Boutique.
And hey, two of those three become GameStop.
Yes, thanks to Barnes and Noble. But like the magazine, the magazine that we know as Game Informer started life as an in-house newsletter, which, you know, it wasn't necessarily an actual proper subscription like mail service, and it was published every 2 months.
And as I'd implied earlier, they have directly stated their reason for doing so was they found that the magazine format, the newsletter format, worked as a better way to advertise than just putting out ads themselves in different publications. Because by having it in the newsletter, people are more likely to continue to read it through the ads.
Yes, which, I mean, when I read that, that makes a lot of sense now, because I remember their commercials looking very much like they were done by the local public television station. They looked like very local commercials.
100% they were. Oh, okay. We're this is jumping ahead a little bit, but it's really funny to think that right now is the most the point in time that GameStop is the least beholden to corporate interests, the least beholden to advertising, to pushing it in a way that can be problematic to actual coverage. That they were formed like this. It's not that they, like, for a lot of publications, they get there over time, but that's how GameStop started. Game Informer started, and now we're finally getting to see what they can look like when the chains are cut.
Yes, you know.
But we'll get there. We're still in the past.
We are still very much in the past, and so after, they did this. They were doing this format for a little over 3 years. It wasn't until November of 1994 that it became a monthly magazine. We've gone beyond the newsletters type format, and it stayed that way for about 6 years. Then we jumped to the year 2000. I wonder what happened
6 years later.
Then we jumped to the year 2000. Barnes and Noble enters the story.
Barnes & Noble and Electronics Boutique both have a bidding war to acquire Funko Land.
Yes. And what happens is that B&N acquires some companies, and they merged them, and that merged entity became GameStop.
They merged Funko Land and Babbage's. Babbage's, I don't know when they acquired them, but they already had them at the time. And through creating GameStop, Game Informer stayed right alongside them.
And it was then where I remember seeing Game Informer, because GameStop made Game Informer basically their in-house publication arm. I remember, as one of the many questions that GameStop cashiers would ask you when you were checking out, they would ask you to join their membership program, and membership got you a yearly subscription of Game Informer.
It was considered their loss leader. It was a way to get you in and get you to get that pro membership.
I mean, I don't know if it was so much, I don't know if it was so much as a loss leader, because it got to the point where, at its height, it became the fifth most popular magazine in the U.S., like by circulation.
I agree with you. I'm using their words. The CEO called it a loss leader.
No,
the only point to GameStop for Game Informer was to get people to get the pro membership. They did not give a single shit about Game Informer outside of that, and that probably explains that mindset will explain a lot of what's to come.
I mean,
you don't think you could hate that guy more, did you?
Yeah, I mean, but I mean, I renewed year after year. I mean, I just remember, that was so we're talking early 2000s. So for me, we're in middle school and into high school at this point.
Same with me. Game Informer is I've been current on a Game Informer subscription as long as I can remember. Like, I'm not sure when I got my first one, but it was definitely early 2000s. And I just kept up on it all the way up until the cancellation.
Yeah, I think for me it was probably 2001, 2002 when I started actually earning my own money. When I started earning, I worked for McDonald's and could buy shit for myself and didn't need the disapproval of my ex-stepfather to
thinking of it that way, then it was definitely either 2002 or 2003 that I started getting subscriptions, because that's when I started at Walmart, and it was definitely early in my time there that I got it. So you beat me.
I mean, that's a guess, but in any event, I remember, that was a must read, because I mean, at that time I had also purchased subscriptions to Nintendo Power, and the other one that I had was Game Pro. I don't know if you remember Game Pro.
I do. I was about to ask you what other magazines at the time were you? What other gaming magazines were you taking in? For me, it was definitely Game Pro, definitely Nintendo Power, and Electronic Gaming Monthly.
I did not do the EGM. I only had one could only subscribe to so many magazines making $5.25 an hour. So
I understand. Well, I was making the unheard of amount of $8 an hour at Walmart. Big bucks.
Yeah, I mean, you were rolling in it.
Rolling in cash.
Just flush with cash. You were drunk with power.
Just dropping subscriptions like I'm making it fly.
Basically. But no, those were the three that I had. Those are the three I had, and I remember the two reasons why I had a Nintendo Power subscription. One was because, it's Nintendo. I mean, for a long time, Nintendo was my predominant console.
How else would you hear about the announcement and release of the Virtual Boy?
Yes. You mean then or now?
I was waiting for you to do that. I can't wait to see Game Informer cover it. We can put the two of them side by side.
Well, by the time this episode drops, they'll probably already have. But I had Nintendo Power because something that this was a criticism that I had of Game Informer for years, as the parent, as the child of GameStop at this point, was that I had always felt that Game Informer was... I always felt that there was a bias with Game Informer in their reviews and their articles, because I felt like they really had to toe the company line a lot, which included a culture of them just shitting on Nintendo. So this was just... And I have no scientific data or any sort of qualitative or quantitative evidence to back that up. It seemed like for a very long time, particularly during the GameCube and the Wii era, that just you couldn't really find in the pages of Game Informer much in the way of Nintendo coverage at all. Like, despite the fact that the Wii was selling like hotcakes, the DS and the 3DS were king, just...
I'll be honest here. Like, so I agree that there's bias in Game Informer. It's something I want to talk about a bit later on, but I never noticed that issue with coverage for Nintendo. But here's why. Not that I didn't see that coverage. I felt like that was near universal. There was just, at the time, a general culture in gaming press and in gaming magazines and among a lot of fans against Nintendo. And that eventually, that ebbed and flowed, but I feel like that was less of a bias in Game Informer and more of a trend in the gaming publication and the gaming industry as a whole.
And you're probably right, but since Game Informer was where I was largely getting my overall industry news from at that time,
that makes sense. Because I would fight with a lot of people about it. It felt like a lot of gamers were turning against them, and because game press people are also gamers, they had the same thing, and a lot of people, it became the thing to shit on Nintendo around that time.
Yes, I remember very clearly going into a GameStop one day, asking for a Nintendo game. I think it was a GameCube game, and very nearly being laughed out of the store by the staff on duty. I'm like, okay, cool.
That's such shit. That is so shitty.
So it's just like, well, I mean, it comes from the top. But anyway. So that was why I also had Nintendo Power as well, just to balance out. Like, okay, apparently the only one who's doing any sort of reporting on what Nintendo is doing is Nintendo, so...
We're going to trust the entity called Nintendo Power to be fair and balanced.
Absolutely. I mean, well... I know you say that as a joke, and believe me, that is funny. But there were also times, I remember, during GameStop's ownership of Game Informer, where some of the review scores they gave certain games, again, I do not have any evidence to back this up, seemed unusually high. Like...
Oh, yes. Okay, that's where I was going to come with the bias, because... Game Informer is owned by GameStop, and GameStop wants to continue to have good relationships with all of these companies. So, don't rate their game below this. There is, I don't think there's any doubt at one point that was going on in Game Informer. They've asked people who've left in Game Informer, and basically, I don't know if I've seen anyone deny it. They will say no comment, I won't answer that question. But that's almost a yes.
Yeah, and I used to have this information, but it was like, I'd be looking at I'd be reading a review, and it gets a very high score, and then I would compare that to other publications, and be like, okay, Game Informer, why are you the outlier here? He asked rhetorically.
Yeah. I mean, some of it's also it also depends on the reviewer. On
oh yes,
here's the thing I will go. There's absolutely bias here, but I honestly feel like we should be seeing more variance in review scores for individual games than we typically do. I feel like there is an inherent bias in the industry to rate close to what other people are rating it so that you're not the outlier.
And that's fair, and that can be in a whole separate episode.
Absolutely. Absolutely it could. Put that on the docket.
Well, put that
2026.
Yeah, it's foreshadowing. But
it's a narrative device.
Yes, it is. But in any event, with the acquisition of Game Informer by GameStop, it sees incredible success because they bundle it with the Pro membership, and by 2010, as I mentioned earlier, Game Informer became the 5th largest magazine, not most popular, 5th largest by circulation in the US, with 5 million copies sold, which, according to Lord Wikipedia, put it ahead of other magazines like Time, Sports Illustrated, and Playboy. Like, those are some big names.
It topped porn.
I mean, porn likes to be topped. It's something that it has very strong feelings
for it.
Playboy is something that has very strong feelings about. But yes, but those are big names like Time Magazine, Sports Illustrated, Playboy. You talk a video game magazine going ahead of those in sales, and then even a year later, it became the 3rd largest magazine with more than 8 million copies sold.
Game Informer was a big deal. I think there are a lot of people that, even if they had it, that didn't realize how big it was. How much of a touchstone in the industry it was. Which is why it was so heartbreaking when, as we all know, it did eventually go away, but we're not there yet.
No, we're not there yet. And we're just looking at the sales numbers for like the 2010s, because this is around the time when we start seeing other magazines drop, because we're shifting over to online format. More and more people are getting their video game news on the internet, and so print is taking a massive hit. And part of its great success during the 2010s was as a result of its other competition dying.
So here's a little tidbit for the 2010s. Game Informer was doing so good. Did you know that they had a spin-off in another country?
I actually did not.
Game Informer Australia's first issue was in 2010, and then in 2019, Game Informer Australia was shut down. A 9-year life. I specifically want to call this out because the editor-in-chief for the entire period, David Milner, is a real good fucking dude. When GameStop demanded he cut his staff in almost half, he paid out of his pocket for the people to continue to work on the next 2 issues so that they would have time and money to find a new job. And during Australia's marriage equality campaign, he made the cover a rainbow and prominently covered the campaign as its cover story because gamers should stand in solidarity with the LGBT community. That is a quote from him.
Well done. Good on you, sir.
Yeah.
I did not know that. Nice. Well, good.
Well, there you go. But apparently, that was Game Informer Australia did not last super long, but hey, regular Game Informer didn't last that much longer afterwards.
Yeah, like 2019 is when it started to drop, like, steeply.
a taste of what was to come. Canary in the coal mine.
Yeah. And so that's, we had in August 2019. That's, I think that were those the layoffs you were referring to? That was when about half the staff
of Australia. So 2017 is when Game Informer's staff started to get pared down. They had a series of layoffs almost every year, but it wasn't a ton at a time. It was a couple people here and there, but it was almost every year from 2017 till they shut down. And it's why they had such a small staff, such a lean staff, when they eventually did get shut down.
Okay. Because...
So if you ever noticed, like, in issues with coverage during that 7-year period, a lot of that was because they kept having to have people take more and more and more on, because there were less and less people.
Yes, as is true of every office. So half the staff were let go in August of 2019 because GameStop was also doing terribly. Like, I remember there were talks that that GameStop was circling the drain, that they were on their way out, and I was actually kind of rooting for that to happen because I have not given money to GameStop since, I think, before COVID. That's how long it's been since I have stepped foot in a GameStop.
I definitely bought from GameStop more recently than you did. I've also stopped by now, but they are the only two places that I can get games in person are Walmart and GameStop. So
two very shitty companies. Wow.
Yeah, the one, the company that destroyed my mental health, and the other is the one that destroyed the industry I love. But
yay.
But I did keep buying from GameStop until mid-COVID, probably. Just, I didn't want to stop buying games in person, and I didn't have any other options, but eventually I couldn't justify it to myself anymore.
Yeah. Then they jumped on, like, the whole meme stock insanity, and,
I'm surprised they didn't freaking elect Elon Musk as their CEO.
Yeah, I mean, it's a light Elon Musk. It's a crypto bro that's running the show, who's also currently being investigated on, like, insider trading bullshit. So couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. But yes.
Is that the Bed Bath & Beyond stuff?
When he was running that. Yeah.
That is likely part of why they canceled Game Informer?
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. Like, there's been...
We'll get there.
Yeah. We'll get there. We're jumping the gun a bit. But... So now we start on the decline, late 2010s and into COVID, and then, we continue the layoffs, we continue them for several years more, and then we come to 2024. We come to March of last year, in which Game Informer launched...
Game Informer starts... Oh, sorry?
They started a new print magazine subscription, which was separate from GameStop's reward system. So for the first time, we have an actual separation. You no longer need to have a GameStop Pro membership to have a Game Informer subscription.
So Game Informer was told that this was a test run to see if they were financially viable. AKA, could they make enough money to no longer have to be tied directly to GameStop? Not that GameStop was ever going to let go of them, but basically, would you be able to survive if you stopped being used as a loss leader?
Yep.
And their editor-in-chief said that the test run worked out well, and they had the data to show that they were financially viable. They were making a profit without needing GameStop's money to be put into them.
Well,
we'll see how well that goes for them.
Yeah, that test run only lasted a few months. When we finally get to the aforementioned surprise death. The sudden TPK.
So, that was March, and people paid for a year's subscription.
Yep.
And then they cancel it 5 months later.
Yep.
And they don't refund the money automatically. You have to go through a system to manually request a refund. I wonder why they did it that way. Why did they set up a system to bring in a whole buttload of money all at once and then end it and keep the money?
Gee, Veronica, I don't know what you're insinuating with that.
GameStop, okay, everybody knows. The GameStop was desperate for money, specifically the CEO was. GameStop itself was having severe financial troubles where it was not giving returns to its shareholders, and the CEO was in the middle of a major legal battle, as we just talked about the Bed Bath & Beyond, and they needed money fast, and not a single person can tell me that the whole intention of getting them to do a year subscription and then canceling it only a couple months in, that was not a deliberate chance to go, most people aren't going to request the refund, so we can do this and just get a big influx of money and we'll get to keep most of it.
Further continuing to justify my decision to not buy anything from GameStop for years now.
Fuck that CEO.
Oh, yes.
Actually, don't. No one should ever fuck that CEO.
No.
None. Sex embargo. No sex anymore.
No.
That's your punishment.
That's it. You can go join Seo from Horizon Forbidden West.
That man also does not know what sex is.
No, and he never will. So... But yes, so on August 2nd of last year, GameStop just literally pulled the plug on Game Informer. They announced it in a tweet, to the shock of Game Informer. Because they were, if I remember correctly, they were like most of the way through their next issue.
70% of the way. It's called The Lost Issue, and I actually have some notes on it for later. As far as I could tell from my research, the only employee that found out about the announcement that they were ending before it was made public was the editor-in-chief, who was called to a meeting and was told in the meeting that it was happening, and the announcement went out before the meeting was done.
So, more shitty on top of more shitty.
And they pulled the website down immediately. It just went to an image of the tweet with decades of articles and reviews and everything else. A lot of which, because there was a ton of digital exclusive stuff, that was backed up nowhere else.
Yeah. 33 years of archive gone in an instant. No warning, no transition, just boop, nope, we're done.
And I mean, I assume the reason they did it that way was because they always intended to try to find a buyer for the Game Informer brand as well as the back catalog, and by pulling it down immediately so no one can get manual copies of it, it makes it more valuable for them. I'm assuming that's what their thought process was.
Again, no one told the Game Informer staff, and especially if they were proving that they could be economically viable on their own, this seems like okay, if Game Informer has proven that they can deal with this challenge. Why'd you do that? There are theories abound, as we know.
Well, we don't have answers because every single person that worked for Game Informer is under an NDA. Now, whether that NDA was part of their original contract that GameStop added in during probably a contract renewal, or whether this was a requirement for them to sign an NDA before they would get any kind of severance, we don't know. The only person that I can tell who made a public statement was the editor-in-chief, and that was basically it. And he had a very not a super controversial statement. It didn't really go into any detail on anything because likely he couldn't. But you want to know who could talk about how shitty GameStop is? All of the former staff of Game Informer. I don't know if you heard any of this, but I got some quotes I'd like to read.
Go ahead.
I may not read all of these, but I have 6 different people's quotes. And I'm gonna read at least 2 or 3 of them. The first one's the longest. This is from Elise Favis. She was the associate editor at Game Informer from 2016 to 2019, and currently works as a communications consultant at 50cc. It was a dream job. You hear the sentiment often throughout the office. I don't think a single person lacked a genuine passion for video games, but what was so surprising was how unwaveringly kind everyone was while they worked so incredibly hard. We loved it all, and it came through in everything we did. Our podcasts, magazine features, reviews, goofy videos. Everything was crafted with a level of thoughtfulness and love that I haven't yet seen again. I'm sick to my stomach that everything Game Informer created, 33 years worth of meticulously researched, influential, and culture-shifting video game coverage, was gone in seconds. I never wanted to imagine a world without Game Informer, but sometimes even the best things in life come to an end. I'm just grateful it brought me as much as it did, and that I still have so much to hold on to, whether it's memories, friendships, or career-defining moments. Thank you, Game Informer. Next, from Surreal Vasquez. The way Game Informer laid off all of its remaining staff last week is abhorrent, and the company's Dick Van Dyke-style stumbles, lucky breaks, and inability to figure out how to exist in a world where people can pre-order games on Amazon has been well documented. But despite ending the magazine, GameStop didn't kill off Game Informer. We're all still around. He was an associate editor from 2016 to 2019, and currently the narrative lead at Big Blue Sky Games. I have 2 more I'm going to do, and then I will back off this. They shut down the magazine, they pulled the cord on the site, but they can never take away all the beautiful moments that every generation of Game Informer staff built over these 33 years. Gavi Gwaltney, he was associate editor from 2015 to 2019, and currently works as a communications manager at EA. The last one, which is the one that I feel the strongest for, is from Blake Hester. He was an associate editor from 2020 to 2024, so the COVID years. And he's the author of The Oral History of Guitar Hero, Rock Band, and the Music Game Boom. Fuck GameStop. Yeah. I think that one's a good way to end it.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's just... My criticisms of bias notwithstanding, I mean, I loved Game Informer, and it was... You know, that was my main source of game news for years, because to this day, this is how I know that I am an elder millennial, is that I still prefer print media. I cannot sit down and scroll through IGN or Kotaku or Polygon the way that I can a physical, tangible magazine. I just can't. This is
100%. I feel the same way. You know that I am not always a fan of print media over digital, but I 100% I feel that way here. Like, it's not the same.
It's not the same. I mean, I still prefer print media so much. Like, I have, like, this even goes into things like ebooks. Like, I have tried reading books on tablets, like Kindles and whatnot. It does not give me the same emotional satisfaction.
You like the feeling of the paper.
Yeah, I mean, it's still why I still shoot a lot of film. I love the tangible element of celluloid. It's just this is how I am. I know that, you know, this is the side of the technological gap that I am on as a elder millennial, and that's what I'm going with. So, I mean,
there's legitimate. A healthy media ecosystem has a variety, and I believe that print media is an important part of that, because it fundamentally has different strengths and weaknesses to digital. One of the major ones being print has no need to please the dreaded algorithm. You're not needing to... there's no need to craft what you're saying to please a computer that is going to either put you or not put you in front of people's faces. You can write what you want and need to write, and people will decide to buy the magazine as a whole or not based on any individual article.
Also, I don't need to run 3 separate app blockers at once to read a magazine.
You're right.
If you have you tried reading like an IGN article on a mobile device without an ad blocker? You can't.
I refuse.
But yeah, as you should.
I refuse.
But I digress. Game Informer was the original run of Game Informer was so influential, not just to just gamers as a whole, but also to DLC. The number of episodes that we have been that have been done, which have been directly inspired by Game Informer articles. Like,
do you have the number in front of you?
I do not. I can take some time over the break and go.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I don't have that information in front of me, but I know we have done episodes in which, and I mean that's reflective this season. I mean, we've done an episode inspired by Edge magazine, so it's like
behind the scenes, like you and I both talked about how now that Game Informer is gone, like we're definitely gonna have to look at Edge magazine for anything interesting, because that's all that's fucking left now. Yeah,
and I do have my Edge magazine subscription. It's still ongoing, and I really, really enjoy that magazine. There's certain things that I like about it that differ from Game Informer, but Game Informer was the go-to for a lot of people, for a lot of gamers for over 3 decades. And to have it end the way it did.
I'm gonna read one more quote off of what you just said.
All right.
From Mike Footer. He was the news editor there from 2013 to 2026, and he's currently the director of business development at Leviathan. To my friends and colleagues who were there at the end, thank you for carrying the flame as long as you did. You did us all proud. You deserved so much better.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it absolutely did.
It's easy to talk about this stuff in terms of the industry and in terms of how it affects us as gamers, and how this affects the ecosystem. But we need to always keep in mind that these are people. These are people who devoted a portion of their lives to this job and who put a lot of themselves into this, that got to see for some of them, their life's work be burned to the ground to try to increase stock by a couple percent. To try to pay the CEO's legal fees. And I think we all need to make sure we don't forget that context while we're talking about the rest of this, because it is important.
Yes, it absolutely is. It's just
the human cost.
It's the human cost. I mean, and we see this not just with Game Informer, but just across a whole bunch of industries as a whole. Like, this constant drive to always make line go up just wrecks people's livelihoods.
Yeah, people's livelihoods, people's lives, people's plans, people's dreams. Like, the fact that they are finally being given the chance to exist mostly free of corporate influence for the first time in Game Informer's existence. I am supremely curious at what is going to come out of this.
Yes, and that is, as we are winding down the first half here, we have documented, we have talked about its humble beginnings in 91 to its massive heyday in the 2010s, to its unceremonious demise. But then something happened earlier this year, back in March. There was a short little thing that was put out by Game Informer. You probably saw this. It was a little video, and if I remember correctly, it was something that was resembling an arcade game. And at the bottom of the screen, the word "continue" and ended with the date of March 25th. And we were all like, what?
I got my hopes up immediately.
I think we all did, and that is where we're going to wind down the first half. So on our second half, we will talk about the resurrection, the continue that Game Informer got.
We will put that quarter into the machine and start part 2.
Wait, do I still have quarters? Shit. Who takes change anymore?
Next on Downloadable Content.
Crap, I gotta go raid the laundry jar. All right. You'll have some music, but on the other side, the resurrection of Game Informer. Like Jesus, but different. That's on the other side. See you in a few. Welcome back to our final episode of DLC for the year, as we talk about the rise, fall, and resurrection of our beloved Game Informer. We are still here, Veronica and I.
Ready to continue this lovely conversation about the return of a beloved franchise.
Ah, yes. It's like coming home. It's, well, or, maybe more seasonally appropriate. It feels like Christmas. When we last left off, I was remarking that something better than Jesus was on the horizon. And here we are.
And that is the return of Game Informer, the magnificent return.
So yes, after it spent a few months baking in a cave, we get the announcement that on March 25th, Game Informer announced that Gunzilla Games, which at that point was a developer I never even heard of, but they made a game called Off the Grid.
I'm super thankful they did this, and they seem like genuinely, like, really interesting games. But if I just read what this was, Off the Grid is a free-to-play, early access game featuring cryptocurrency and an NFT marketplace. That's word salad of bad things.
Yeah, when that I'm just like...
I appreciate what they did, as we'll get to what they did, but I also appreciate that they are being hands off.
And that was the important thing, is that they bought and Gunzilla bought the entire IP. Like, they didn't buy sections of it from GameStop. They took it all.
The branding, the back catalog. They took everything, and then they brought the entire original team back. Not just editorial, but the production side as well. They brought everyone.
Yes, and, so we're talking about everyone that was involved at the time GameStop killed it.
Yep.
And yeah. So...
And guaranteed the company independence. They spun GameStop off into an independently operated company. So Gunzilla will still get profit from Game Informer, but they have no say in anything when it comes to them as a company.
Yeah, they're just a parent at this point. It's like, yeah, you're on your own.
Yeah, they are a financial shareholder in that way, but nothing else. And that, I give them such credit for that. That they went Game Informer, that print media in general and in this media ecosystem is incredibly important. Not just print media, Game Informer, that traditional gaming magazine is important to exist. And they were willing to put their money up to go, this is important to be here, and we're willing to fund that. And as much as I just made fun of them for their game, and I'm not gonna lie about how I feel about a thing, they deserve all of the kudos for having a ethical stance on this, and putting their money where their mouth is, that this is important, so we should do this.
Then, some months after they announced their return, we got the information. We got info that they were doing print subscriptions again, and I signed up day one.
Yep, same as I did.
Same
as I think a lot of people did.
Yeah,
the website crashed, didn't it?
Yes, it did crash. It did crash, but the print. I forget what the cost of the year subscription was. It was higher than a normal, your average yearly magazine, but they were going to make it up. Because I have now several issues of it. Like, the paper is of much better quality. It's presented beautifully. And also I have, I didn't mind paying the higher price because, as you mentioned in the first half, there's a person cost, there's a people cost, and if they're basically now an independent entity, yes, I want you to keep writing. Please have my money.
I think I didn't catch if we mentioned this yet. I think it's also important to mention that when they bought the rights and they brought everybody back, they also bought the entire back catalog and they fully restored the website. All of the previous content for 30 years worth of stuff is still there for everyone to go. None of it was lost.
Yes. So right now, as of this recording, there are two options for a subscription. You can get digital only, or you can get the print and digital subscription. And
boy, I wonder which one we both did.
Oh, I wonder. Well, for us, because it was not 48 a year because we were early adopters. We got a special. There was a special deal for the early adopters, so it was not 48. It was lower than that, but
yeah, I don't remember what it was, but it definitely was lower than 48. I remember that.
Yes,
but honestly, I'll still pay it.
I mean, yes, and like the magazine looks great. The magazine looks great.
Before we get to that, so while we're talking about the cost, how about the fact that 5% of every subscription is now getting donated to charity?
Yes, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yep, 5% of every subscription goes to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, which that was amazing. When the editor-in-chief made his statement on the return, one of the things he talked about was when they knew they were coming back, that was one of the first things they made the decision of, was that they wanted what they're doing now to have some kind of effect, especially in case if they're not around forever, if this ever happened to them again, at least then they know that they were able to put some of their work towards something, and they are. They're putting their money where their mouth is.
And paying it forward a bit, which I really, really appreciate.
But yes. Yes?
Finish up.
I was just going to go, but yes, no, what you were saying of the paper, the magazine looks amazing.
So, and because they're owned by Gunzilla now, and they have their own, basically, editorial independence. You know what was the first thing I noticed when I started getting the magazine? There are virtually no ads.
Oh, yeah.
The magazine is not cluttered up with GameStop ads. Or just
it feels nice, doesn't it?
It's like a physical ad blocker.
I didn't notice at first because I was going through and there was what I thought was an ad in the first couple pages. It wasn't. It was St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, and it was them talking about doing the 5%. But it's where an ad would have been in the previous editions.
Yep.
And then I kept reading, and the rest of them were just gone.
Yeah, there are no ads. There is. I'm like, oh my god! You know how I was always so frustrated about how much of the original Game Informer was just cluttered with ads.
And it's freeing.
It's so nice. It is so nice. It's like I can actually read one of these now from start to finish, and just not have to, just keep flipping over, ads or please subscribe. Give us money. It's all right there. I'm currently, so I sometimes read, when I get a Game Informer or an Edge magazine, I sometimes read it same day, but oftentimes I will sit on them for a bit because I'm reading another thing at the same time. But like,
Oh, I do the exact same thing.
it's like I get them and then they sit on my desk sometimes for a week or two, and I go, "Oh yeah, right, yes, good."
I was gonna say, for me, like I will often end up sitting on a Game Informer for a month, and then when the next one comes in, I'll go, "Oh wait, crap! I haven't read the previous one yet. It looks like I need to get to that."
Yeah, I don't usually sit on them for that long, but no, I just there was one that I was reading. Actually, there was one that was talking about resurrecting Vampire the Masquerade, because that one came with a D&D poster. That came with a Forgotten Realms poster.
Yep, Bloodlines 2, which I am both excited for and dreading, but that's a whole nother topic.
Yep, and I know we've got one. We've got the Hades 2 one that's pending, and also the next one is going to be talking. It's going to be featuring Silksong. So I know. I mean, by the time this episode airs, they'll have been old. They'll be old episodes, but
I can't wait.
Old issues. Maybe I will have finished Silksong by Christmas, but we'll see.
I am currently trying to plow through Silksong so I can get to Hades 2. I'm not going to. I'm not making it.
No, and I mean, I'll buy Hades, but it'll be like, yep, I'll get to it when I get to it.
Oh, I know. This is for everyone who's listening. This is like Christmas for me. Two of my favorite games of all time just got their sequels fully released. Yes, I know Hades 2 was in early access forever, but I wait for the full release. So holy crap.
Mm-hmm.
To GameStop.
But yeah, so because of the resurrected Game Informer just looks, it's so new and so familiar at the same time. So you've gotten rid of the ads. There's no parent company with major decisions on what goes into the magazine.
Absolutely. I mean, even before we even get to that, the first thing I noticed when I touched it was how nice the paper feels.
Oh yes, it is not magazine standard.
Yeah, it is a nice, heavier weight, slightly glossy paper. Like, it feels so much better to page through and read than it did before. Like, noticeably so.
Because the parent company's not cutting corners.
Yeah, exactly. Well, also, it's more expensive. Both, it's no longer getting ad revenue in that way, and they are, using higher quality paper. They're making it a higher quality product, and they're charging more for it. And guess what? I think that's not a bad business model. I don't think everything needs to go, we are going to cut everything we can to make stuff as cheaply as possible. I think there is value in having a product that is slightly more expensive to give you a better quality experience.
Agreed. I mean, better materials and better presentation aside, I mean, it's worth it just to not have ads in there, quite frankly.
I was gonna say, for me, it was immediately the paper. I didn't even notice the lack of ads for a little bit. I'm guessing for you, it was immediately just the lack of ads.
Yeah, the lack of ads.
I will say, I don't know how you feel, but the writing feels exactly the same as before. You can tell it's all the same people. It'll take time to see if we see less biases that they have been accused of in the past. I don't necessarily mean you. I mean, they've gotten biases back, accusations of bias for ever. So we'll have to see that now that they are no longer beholden to GameStop, if that's going to change. Now, of course, they're still beholden to game companies the way every gaming publication, both online and offline, is, in that if they torpedo a game company, they're no longer going to get access to the games early to be able to do stuff. But that's a whole nother issue, and one we've had a whole podcast on, if I remember correctly. And this should definitely make some changes.
Yes. Well, I mean, that's what I was saying just a few minutes ago. I was saying it's so refreshingly new and also familiar, and you mentioned it, with the writing, because it's what we had. It's what we had before its initial death blow, and the feature articles have been very interesting to read, because normally in the old Game Informer I didn't really care much about the feature articles, because they were very rarely games I was actually interested in playing, because usually the feature article was going to be the big seller, or the latest major AAA hotness. And there's a couple of games that they have featured that looked very, very interesting to me. I can't tell you what they are, because I also make this mistake of bringing my copies of Game Informer and Edge to my office, and I leave them there. I dog-ear the pages so I know what I want to refer back to, but it does me no good right now when the magazine I want to refer to is sitting on my desk at my day job.
I have them all in front of me. You want me to just start reading you stuff?
No. I can actually just log into the digital magazine and find it myself.
Yeah, you could. One thing I will talk about, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure they might have done something like this, but I don't know if, while they were owned by GameStop, that they would have spent a significant portion of one of their articles talking about how ICE was affecting Los Angeles and the ramifications of what that was doing to the city and the people in it. That feels like something that would have been axed by the people above them.
Uh-huh.
And that they did in the first magazine they came back when they were covering Summer Games Fest. There was like a decent chunk where they were talking about how this was affecting them and everyone else, and of course the immigrants and the other people in the city, and not sugarcoating it. Like, it wasn't necessarily the biggest fuck ICE takedown that they put in there. It was very even-handed, but I don't even feel like you would see that much in the past.
There comes a certain freedom with the changing of ownership. And that's kind of started to be evident almost right from the rip. It's you can be a bit more topical and talk more about like the interconnectedness of where games and real life coincide.
As we talked about earlier, like, we have Game Informer Australia standing up for LGBT people, a decade ago, and now we're seeing regular Game Informer be able to take their own stances and go, games exist in the world, and these are things that are affecting people in the games industry, people who play games, people all around it. These are big issues, and they're not focusing the magazine on them, but they're also not afraid of calling them out and saying and calling them what they are when it is relevant to them. And I don't want to give anybody a pat on the back for doing the bare minimum, but it's good to see. It's real good to see.
Mm-hmm.
In a time as, if you've listened to prior podcasts, y'all know I'm trans. I did a whole podcast about trans representation in video games.
Really?
It's a fucking... Yeah, and it's a fucking scary time right now for a lot of people in a lot of different ways. And seeing magazines like Game Informer call stuff like it is, and be able to see that point of solidarity for people to come together. Like, we need more of that.
Yeah, we do.
Sorry for hijacking your podcast for a moment.
Oh no, not that. Not the dreaded that. It's kind of just been interesting now that I am once again I have 2 active print video game magazine subscriptions. It's actually been very interesting to do a compare and contrast with new Game Informer and Edge.
That's the thing I haven't gotten a chance to do yet, is kind of see them side by side and kind of compare and contrast, because they're the 2 big ones at this point.
Yeah, for just like general video game industry stuff, those 2 magazines are like largely it. But like Edge like Game Informer is going to cater to its audience, and which is probably almost wholly American. So
yep.
it's going to report from a American industry standpoint, whereas Edge, being based out of the UK, takes a far more international flavor. And
I was going to say, well on you for saying international. If you were going to say European, I was going to make a Brexit joke.
Yeah. No. It's so Edge magazine does some types of reporting that's pretty similar to Game Informer. I mean, they're going to have their feature stories, they're going to have their reviews and previews and so on. But Edge magazine will also talk about the industry in other parts of the globe. And I'm curious to see, because we're only, 2 or 3 issues into the new Game Informer at this point?
Yeah.
I'm curious to see if that editorial freedom that they now have, no longer being under GameStop's thumb, I wonder if they're going to... We've already started seeing... we have already started to see them expand their reporting, as you just mentioned, with the talking about ice. I'm curious to see if they're going to expand that to be a little more international themselves, to cover events and video game happenings and developments in other countries as well.
At this point, it's all speculation. I would be totally on board if they did, but also I could see them going, that is Edge's niche, and we don't want to step too much into that. I kind of think what we're going... My speculation is that we're going to see them cover indie games far more than they were before. And they already covered indie games more than most other publications did.
Yep.
That was always kind of a niche of theirs, and I kind of expect to see them expand that. Because, hey, they have extra pages now. They don't have the ads.
Yes, exactly.
They can cover more games. We get more game per informer.
Funny that's some nice math in our favor. Yeah, because I think, well, I mean, obviously, at this point, since we are, as of this recording, we are, I think, 3 issues into the new Game Informer. I think the latest, the one that is current as of now is it's talks about Ninja Gaiden 4. I think that's the current one. I actually I missed the episode issue where it was all Hades 2. That was 3 issues before they died, before the culling. So I was like, wait a minute, I know they've done a Hades 2 one. Did I just see the cover of it and just never, like, oh, that was when they were doing, that was during the 5-month experiment. Okay. So, yeah.
Fuck that. I'm never going to not be salty about them putting the print magazine out, then immediately canceling it and not refunding the people. That was the most obvious cash grab. And, like, if I had ever... Like, at that point, I was already not buying from GameStop, but that is that principled moment where, like, it doesn't matter if they have something I want and that's the only place I can go at this point. After that, fuck that.
So there's a couple. There's an article. So the issue that I have yet to open is the Vampire the Masquerade one. It is sitting on my desk. It's looking at me, but thanks to the fact that my subscription also includes digital, there's a couple of articles in there that I am very keen on reading, and one that has already given me an idea for a future episode. So we're just going to continue the trend.
Well, so all the people who are listening, you can go and read that magazine and see if you can figure it out.
Yes.
Little game for you.
Absolutely. But we're only a few months into the resurrection. I really hope that this new era of Game Informer, I hope it lasts for years to come.
It is rare for something that is this much of a something to become this much of a mainstay in the industry. They've been around since 91, and yes, there are decent chunks of the time where they were just a mouthpiece for advertising. But even with that, they were able to put out some real journalism more than a couple times. They worked within their limitations, but they were proud of being able to work within those limitations. The editor-in-chief, up until I think like 2019, Andy McNamara, he started in 91. He was one of the original people there. And he was there, almost the whole time. Like, there are people who were there from those early days, and you don't get a lot of companies, but a lot of touchstones like this that build that kind of institutional knowledge, that keep the same people for that long, and what that does things for both the magazine, but also for the rest of us.
I mean, we're at the point now where some of those people, like if they had those people who originally started with Game Informer in 91, they could retire now.
Pretty much what happened.
I also just really hope that this era of Game Informer lasts. Also, I really hope it lasts because, again, as I have mentioned several times this episode, I am a huge fan of print media. I really don't...
You don't say.
I really just don't want to get my industry news from online. Like, I am trying to be less terminally online than I am. And I would just love to have as print media for as long as possible.
I hope we continue to have access to print media until long into the future. This feels almost like a breaking point, but I still had one more thing I wanted to bring up.
Well, then go do it.
So, earlier we teased at the lost issue of Game Informer, the issue that was currently being worked on when the cancellation happened, that was, according to the editor-in-chief, about 70% complete when word came down that they no longer existed. Did you hear anything about this?
No. I mean, I know that the issue was mostly done, but nothing beyond that.
Well, so in the first return issue of Game Informer, they have a little page talking about the lost issue, but I was also following stuff online as it came out and they were talking about it. And some of it we have access to now. So the cover story was going to be on Metaphor Refantasia. That was going to be the cover, and that was going to be the primary article. And that is up on the Game Informer website. That is a lot of the big batch of reviews that came out when the website came back up, the new ones, a lot of them were from the lost issue, as you would expect.
Yes.
Yeah. Not all of them, though. Because a lot of people had to, make ends meet. So, a lot of people who, during this period of time when Game Informer no longer existed, they brought their writings elsewhere. So, stuff that was meant for Game Informer actually spread out to Giant Bomb, to where else was it? I actually didn't write this down on my head. I didn't write this down with all the rest of my notes. They spread out to about 3 or 4 other websites, because people got to eat and they already have the articles written.
Yeah, I mean, you do what you must. I mean, in an era where seemingly we hear news of layoffs within the industry, mass layoffs in the gaming industry, seemingly on a weekly basis. Yeah, it's like, all right. As Ethan would often say to me, Shakespeare gotta eat.
The last quote that I said earlier by Mike Futter, the one where I'd end with, "You deserved so much better," he was supposed to make his return in that lost issue, writing an article on the issues we currently have, the troubled state of the current games industry. A topic that we have covered multiple times.
Oh, yes. And we did a whole episode on it earlier this season.
It is important to remember to know that we this is all stuff that we had lost, but with this turnaround, at least most of it has managed to surface for people to see. And I just wanted to point out the ones that are not on Game Informer's website that were spread to other companies, but that were originally part of this lost issue. I wish I had written down in notes where they were so I could tell you off the top of my head, but I'm not the smart one.
It happens. We can't win them all. Welcome back, Game Informer. May you continue on for another 33 years.
Welcome back, King.
Yes.
Take your throne.
Take your throne. Have your flowers. You absolutely have earned them. So.
For now, we'll be complaining about you next week.
Yes. Much like sports teams, we'll sing your praises and then cut you to ribbons. Because
as is only right.
As is only fair and right. But there we are. There we are. So if any of you out there have any questions or thoughts or opinions on this episode, or any other episode of DLC, you can let us know. You can go onto the website, dlcpodcast.com, click on the feedback button, and let us hear it. If you want to be in on an episode or give us ideas for future episodes, also use that feedback button. Let us know. We're always willing to listen and entertain any ideas we get. And because DLC has always been a show where anyone can jump on, they see a topic that they're interested in, they want to sound off about it, that invitation will remain into 2026. Hoping to have some ideas for new episodes as we get after the holidays and start recording episodes for 2026 next year. So, thank you all so much for listening. I hope you have a wonderful holiday and a wonderful new year. And I just hope that, despite all of the bullshit that's currently going on in our present timeline, I hope you can find some joy wherever you can. So, that is my hope from me to you. And on that note, all it remains for me to do is to thank Veronica for being on this episode and every single episode in Series 12.
You're welcome. It's always a pleasure.
Next year, we are 4 episodes away from episode 200, so I have no idea what we're going to do yet, but we'll do something to mark the occasion, I'm sure.
We're going to beat out the length of the Final Fantasy VII episode. We're going to make the longest podcast episode of all time. We're going to have 30 guests, bringing everyone back from across space and time. All of these are promises, and they will all be made true.
Well, guess what? You get on that right now. When we get to episode 200, that's just going to take the rest of series 13. It's just this episode is actually an 8-parter. We're going old school Doctor Who.
Yes, it's a series.
It's an entire series with tons and tons of padding. Much like this ending, which is becoming a Minnesota goodbye. All right, everyone. On that, I'm Brian. Have a good one, everyone. We'll see you next year.